Hello and welcome to the preview of Week 8 for the NFL Board Big Footy podcast. Joined here by Brasher, Blackie and Aussie Dude, and we'll jump straight into the games. Thursday night football. Aussie Dude, we'll start with you because I know you love Thursday night football. It's the choke merchants in the Atlanta Falcons against the redemption almosts in the Carolina Panthers. Who's going to win, and will Teddy Bridgewater play well?
Panthers will win. Christian McCaffrey's a chance to play, coming off IR in the last couple of days. Panthers will probably win by 3 scores. Falcons will do absolutely nothing on defense, and Meth Ryan will give the ball away a couple of times, and it's going to be a pretty boring NFC South game.
Brash, I know you love the NFC South. Does Todd Gurley score another unintended touchdown?
He could hope. No, I don't. I fortunately have work to do on Friday, so I'll miss this game. Carolina will win this easily.
Blackie, the Patriots are up against the Bills. Have the Bills learned from your mob, and will they solve Cam Newton in the same way that Brash's mob solved them?
I think the Bills will smoke them.
Through
Big
a pipe
time.
or a smoke tube?
Through just a big old bucket. I mean, there's even rumours that Stephon Gilmore's on the trade table. I think if the Bills mess them up here, we could see them blow it up. Maybe Stidham comes in.
All right, let's leave the trade for the end of the discussion. I'm rushing through so we get 3 seconds to talk about trades before Brash exits to his international man of mystery life. Probably the other team that I'm really keen in that early slot of Sunday games, really keen to hear about, Brasher, is your views on the classic divisional matchup between the Vikings and the Packers. Is the result of that game going to be bad enough that for the third week in 4 weeks, Fooey bows on the podcast?
I think there's fair evidence now to say that Aaron Rodgers a couple of weeks ago ran into a pretty damn good football team to cause his demise. He certainly looked sprightly after Blackie gave him a good old talking to about his performance for the Giblets. So he was up and about again. What is Minnesota's ambition for the rest of the year? Are they
get rid of Kirk Cousins?
You know, right now there are some teams that were probably fairly highly rated at the start of the year. Or at least not terrible, who are right now only 1 win away from the number 1 draft pick. So I don't know what Minnesota's intentions for the rest of the year. I think it's pretty clear Cousins isn't their man going forward. Blackie mentioned Fields before. I reckon this is a place that Minnesota would be a place that I could see him ending up.
Stay with you, Brash. Drew Lock versus Justin Herbert. Who's the better young quarterback in the Chargers-Broncos showdown? And does Blackie cry at the end of the game?
No, Blackie won't be crying, but because I other than that one boneheaded pass that he got intercepted in the first game, in his debut game, he's been as good as any well-performed veteran quarterback going around, and probably better. He's a good one, and I'm going to enjoy watching. I'm going to make a point of watching this game early on, especially with daylight saving ending in the US, so it's an hour more accommodating to us. So this is a game I'll be focusing on. I like Drew Lock as well. I just don't think he's in a position. I like Fangio as a defensive coordinator. I think he treats the offense as a bit of an afterthought in his coaching room, and I think it shows. I think they lack a bit of. Look, they've got injuries as well all over the place, but I think they lack a bit of flair, if you like, on the offensive side of the ball, and I think it might be holding Lock back a little bit as far as his development.
So Blackie, right of reply. Who's going to win the awesome contest between the 49ers and the Seahawks?
I think Seahawks will win. Lockett will do nothing as he's erased by Verrett, but I think big boy DK might do pretty well. Look, it'll be a movable object meeting a pretty stagnant force on the other side, though. 0 pass rush for Seahawks against pretty lackluster passing game from Jimmy. But yeah, I think it'll be closer than most people think.
Follow-up question, does DK get another rundown tackle, and does he get bonus points?
I think he always gets bonus points for that. I think maybe they'll try him out at safety while Jamal Adams is out too. He can play on both sides of the ball.
Aussie Dude, I know you got a stat you want to share with us about the somewhat fraudulent Bears against the Saints. What have you got for us?
First 3 games of the year, Trubisky had over 300 passing yards in each game since he's been benched. Foles hasn't had a single 300-yard passing game, and they're 32nd in the league for passing yards. So they may have been better pre-Foles.
But look, when your name's Big Dick Nick, you can't throw the ball with all that extra weight throwing your arm off, you know? Like, it's all about body balance. And, yeah, your big appendages throw off your passing. So who's going to win, Aussie dude? Breeze or Foles? Come on, it's not that hard.
I don't think either of them's going to particularly win, but I have more faith in the Chicago defense than the Saints defense. So I think it'll be a low-scoring game won by a defensive play by the Bears.
All right, Brash, one for you as the resident betting man in Fui's absence, I should add, only because Fui was too gutless to show up tonight. Stock take, schmock take. What's the bigger spread, Jets Chiefs or Buccaneers Giants?
Jet Chiefs is 21 points.
But was that how it's actually going to go? Or will the Jets do better than expected like they did against the Bills?
Well, it's a little bit, all right, I've been exposed. Why do you think I was asking my other colleagues about why Mahomes is going? Because I'm thinking that the Jets can cover, right? And I wanted to hit it, right? But I wanted to get Blackie's and yours and Aussie Dude's opinion. Now you've confused the shit out of me because I don't know if they will cover the 21. So I was going to hit that pretty hard on the weekend. Thank you for that. Are you in touch with? Do we share the same bookie?
No, I represent your bank. Stay the fuck away from the game. Would be my suggestion.
I'm going to have a chat with Von Su tonight about that. Anyway.
I'll have a dip with you, Brash. Let's do it.
All right.
I wouldn't touch the line on either of them simply because it's in New York for Tampa, and we saw what Tampa looked like in Chicago a few weeks ago. And this is another night game on a cold.
That's why I think the Jet they can. I don't think Kansas City will cover the 21.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Brash. The Greg Williams. This is a Greg Williams chance to prove himself, and he always gets up for the big games defensively. If I had to be a betting man, if there was a game where I thought the Jets would set a new record for the number of defensive players ejected from the game, and Patrick Mahomes being hurt for the rest of the season, this would be the game. This will be Bounty Gate Mark II. But that's just me being speculative.
Okay. It's
Blackie,
it's a very GG type tip.
I know. It grows on you after years in the podcast. Blackie, I'm going to throw to you for probably the next really high-profile game of the week. Tua time. Does Fitzmagic start throwing helmets off the bench in an attempt to hurt Tua and get back on the field? Or does Tua score 3 touchdowns?
I think, the bravest thing I've seen in a long, long time is the Dolphins willing to trot out Tua against Donald. Look at how he tested how sturdy Alex Smith's leg was when they played the football team. He's not shy about testing the durability, so it'll be interesting. But I think Tua is going to be very, very good. I think I was a little bit surprised because I thought Fitzpatrick knew he was the stopgap. He probably thought they were floating around playoff contention, but I don't blame the Dolphins at all. They've got quite a bit of draft capital heading into this season, especially if Houston continues to lose. So they'd want to know what they've got in their quarterback and whether they need to dip again.
Yeah, but they've won 3 of their last 4 with Fitzpatrick.
We were talking about it last week on the podcast that you were absent from, Brash.
Okay.
Just bizarre, stunning decision. Really, really, really hard to comprehend unless ownership has said we got to sell more Tua jerseys. Just a bizarre, because it's not doing Tua any favors. If they'd waited even just one more week and gotten the Aaron Donald game out of the way, Fitzmagic gets sacked by Aaron Donald 5 times. Hey, you got your perfect excuse to transition to Tua. But doing it now, I can see Tua going down with a blown out knee. You got to go back to Fitzmagic, and your future's ruined. I don't get it. I wouldn't
be surprised if they deployed a similar game plan to what San Francisco did against the Rams, as I was talking about before, which would be not dissimilar to the way Tua played in college. So it might be a masterstroke as well. I reckon they're going to trade Fitzpatrick to Dallas. That's why.
Yeah. And then that may well explain everything. It was basically like when they pull a player off the field in baseball just before a big trade. Maybe that's actually what's behind all of it. And Jerry's about to throw him 2 first-round picks for Fitzmagic. But,
yeah, okay, yeah.
I'll smoke some more.
So Fitzpatrick, after his entire career, is finally worth a first rounder.
From Dallas. Look, as an Adelaide fan, I'll get you, Brasher, to provide the American Crow insight on the game that I'm sure he'll be obsessing over, which is the Steelers against the Ravens. Who wins that game? Game of the round?
No, not as far as on paper the heavyweights it is, but as far as interest, it's for me. Like there are other games that are more interesting in the early slots. I don't know if Pittsburgh come out like they did in the first half on the weekend, then I can't see. I think Baltimore's offense is sputtering a bit. I don't know whether they're trying to make Jackson into something he's not, or he's carrying an injury or something, because he's not running. Are they trying to make him into a pure pocket passer now?
They're trying to make him the next Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I think
taller.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh are playing better going into this in Baltimore, but it is in Baltimore, so. You know, I gave this in confidence. I gave this the lowest rating, this game. I think maybe Baltimore, just because they're home, and for no logical reason other than Pittsburgh are due to lose, that I'll take Baltimore.
Aussie dude, you get the game of the week, the clear, outstanding, unarguable game of the week. Such a game of the week that both Southern Takeover and Chisholm wimped out on being on this week's podcast because they were too scared to predict what was going to happen. Cowboys Eagles, 8th best division in football, 3rd and 4th best teams in that division. Who's going to win? Or do we get a tie?
Someone else have a TV guide for noon on Monday?
My boss has already asked me, Brasher, how come you don't have your standard Monday afternoon customer meeting? I'm in the office.
I mean, I'll watch it because I am a football junkie, and I'll watch a fucking Jaguars and whoever else you want to put out on a game if I'm up, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to be particularly happy or invested in it. But interesting that it's pretty low, but it's still football. So,
all right, Blackie, as the transitional expert on the panel, Blackie, will the Cowboys have a new starting quarterback that we don't know about yet? And follow-up question: which quarterback will be more shit, Wentz or whoever happens to start for the Cowboys?
Wentz has been pretty good the last fortnight.
He has.
He has had pretty much the worst supporting cast going around.
He's got Fulgham. He's got Fulgham.
Shit. Oh, no, I've been super impressed with Wentz. He's done some dumb shit like that pick he threw into triple coverage. It didn't even go near the receiver. That wasn't ideal, but he's done some really, really good things. He's been super tough. And he's getting it done with a terrible supporting cast. So I think it might be time. He'll probably come out and disappoint me this week. But no, I'm on the Wentz train. I think I was in the thread saying get around him because everyone was writing him off.
You bought his fucking jersey, haven't you?
Better than Brash buying it.
That's right.
He'd be in the hospital. He'd be
all right,
we'll do the hospital anyway.
Yes. We'll do a real quick run round. Start with you, Aussie dude. 2 trade tips, please. 2 players most likely to be traded in the next week, and where are they going to?
Oh, where they're going to. That makes it a bit harder. Probably, Quentin Williams. Would like to see him at the Chargers, just because I think that could be something devastating on that defensive line. I would have thought the Niners might have thought about trading Pettis, but then another wide receiver decided he wants to spend a couple of days in hospital. So that's probably not going to happen anymore. It's hard to say that Gilmore's going to stay, since the report came out that even in August the Patriots were talking to teams about shipping him off. So probably Gilmore, and he'll go trying to think of a NFC team that's really in need for a cornerback, because I don't see Bill Belichick.
Eagles.
Yeah, with what? Maybe Tennessee. Actually, I think Bill Belichick could do a solid for his old mate and send him to Tennessee.
That's true. Ray, I can see him trading the Vrabel. The other one, I reckon, is Washington. I can see Washington being all in on Stephon Gilmore, and he would be such a great fit for their young backfield. And he'd be able to make
I would love to see Williams in Green Bay if he can play end, but I'm not sure if he can be a productive end rather than just a inside, nose tackle or inside lineman.
And follow-up question for you, Aussie Dude. Last question for you for the week. Any insights in Green Bay about, is Jordan Love suddenly going to come on the board on the field as a trick play option? Do we have a new backup to the excellent wide receiving core in Big Bob Tonyan, or is he fading? What's the Green Bay Packers goss?
There is talk about trying to pick up a tight end, because there was talk that they gave the Eagles a call about Ertz before he went on IR, and we were after the old Falcons tight end in free agency who ended up with the Browns. I've just forgotten his name.
But hang on. Why should Ertz going on IR stop you guys from acquiring him?
You can't trade the players that are on injured reserve. They'll fail the physical anyway.
That's not stopped the 49ers from doing it. Yeah. Took my question seriously, dude. Anyway, anything else from Green Bay?
On Love, I don't think he'll even be active at all this year, because he's been on the inactive list every game this year, I think. Any trade would be for either a wide receiver or a tight end, and I expect that they've made a few other calls to a couple of teams and might have even called the Niners about Pettis before the news of another Niners wide receiver catching the injury bug.
Brash, your two trade tips and who they're going to?
Actually, it's interesting you raised Pettis. I could see Pettis ending up as being either a Patriot, a Washington player, or even potentially a Green Bay Packer. He needs to change the scenery. He's not adding any value to us. I've already said Fitzpatrick to Cowboys. I'd love to see a team like the Falcons go into fire sale mode. Yes. And someone like McKinley get shaken free, and maybe the 49ers could snare him. But the romantic one I want is, I'd love the Cowboys to unload Alden Smith, and we'd give them, say, we'd give them Mullins and a draft pick or something.
A 7th round in 2029. Yes. And in all seriousness, that would be a magically romantic.
The only reason that trade won't happen is because both clubs have to play each other yet this year.
I think there might also be some California felony restriction issues that might play into that.
With Alden, he might not be allowed into the state of California, you reckon?
Not without probation officer approval.
Yeah.
No. Blackie, who you got as your two trades before we do our final swing around the panel with one last question?
I think David Njoku to the Cardinals.
Good pick. I like it.
And I think Quinnen Williams to the Raiders.
And that makes the Raiders scary. If that one happens, that makes the Raiders even more scary. They start to become really solid on defense, almost as solid as they'd been if some idiot hadn't traded Khalil Mack away. All right.
Yep.
We held off on doing this segment in last week's podcast because Brasher, who is the quarterback guru of all quarterback gurus in Fui's absence, wasn't around. But we can't hold off any longer. So really quickly, and we will start with Brasher, please. Who was your DeBerg quarterback performer of the week in the DeBerg Stakes from week 7? And who would you nominate? Who would you nominate for week 8?
I'm going with Ben DiNucci.
For week 7?
For week 7.
Yep. And who's going to be your pick for week 8?
Slim pickings out there at the moment.
Does DiNucci get the start again in Dallas?
Well, he's going to have to, isn't he? Have they got any other quarterbacks?
Not if they trade for somebody.
Actually, I'm going to get him to get. He's going to get Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to go with Benito. He has the best hairy arms. He looks like a 1970s quarterback. He deserves to start. See his hairy arms? Haven't seen that on a Manscaped man for a long time. I'm going with DiNucci. DiNucci, yes, he's my new favourite. I might buy his jersey. It'll be on sale. I'll get it for about $7 or $8 next week.
Aussie dude, are you going to go back-to-back DiNucci's, or have you got a more original pick for us?
It's hard to go past Danny Dimes, isn't it?
I like it. And for week 8?
Still, I reckon Fitzmagic. I just don't see Tua lasting very long before getting injured, especially against that defensive
Good call.
line.
Good call. I like it. But then Fitzmagic will do the game, get sacked 7 times by Donald in the second half alone, break his elbow, and then Tua comes back and leads them to an undefeated rest of the season. That would be the classic DeBerg Award for Fitzmagic. Blackie, who you got?
Last week, Darnold, placeholding for Trevor. And then this coming week, Phil Rivers is a placeholder for Darnold.
Wow. It's all connected in Blackie's world. It's all connected. I like it. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That was a really interesting podcast. Thank you for joining us. Any last thoughts, Brash, before you leave us for your overseas European adventure?
No. I'm all good. I better get going, actually.
All right. Thank you.
Catch you, mate.
Blackie,
See you guys.
anything from you?
No, I'm all good.
And Aussie Dude, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll leave you to chase down Fooey and find out what stock take he was participating in. Did you want to share anything with us before we wrap it up?
Yeah, well, if the Packers lose again this weekend, I think I'm going to get hunted down by Philly because it means I'll be 0-2 with me on the podcast.
Yes, and that's the kind of
If
thing.
if you stay downwind, you'll smell the nuggets before you get to you.
It's like the garlic thing in the Viking and the Viking thing and the what are the blood sucking? Oh,
Vampires?
Jesus,
Vampire?
vampires. There we go. Yeah, I got it. Not the Vikings, the vampires. I had the right first letter. That's big for me.
It's okay.
Yes,
One's
Philly's
just
like
Scandinavia and one's Pennsylvania. Or was it Transylvania?
Transylvania. Well, let's face it. If Pennsylvania votes for Trump, it may as well be Transylvania. Thank you, everybody. That was a really good episode. Appreciate you joining us.
Cheers, guys.